Yo, what is up, guys, and welcome to another Wilder tier list. It has been a while and so much has changed. Every time I make a new tier list, by the way, I look at my old tier list and sort of change things around every single time. And this time, I didn't even look at my old tier list. I mean, I did, but then I realized like my old tier list doesn't make any sense anymore because of how much the meta has shifted. It is truly ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous. And you can thank the change in the meta, but I also want to shout out one specific content creator for like sort of changing metas around, which is Broken Support. If you don't know Broken Support yet, check out his channel, Broken Support Wildrift. This guy single-handedly changes the support meta all the time. And he makes it quite difficult for me to make tier lists. So thank you very much, Broken Support, for that. I'm obviously joking around. So like truly, like him as a content creator and like some other content creators as well, of course, you know, me included. And the meta changing, the items getting updated, people figuring out stuff, new builds being good. Suddenly Xin Zhao and Jarvan being super, you know what I mean? Like all this kind of stuff, like getting figured out by the community. And that's what changes this tier list so much. And you know what's funny? I'm gonna start with the Baron lane. By the way, timestamps in the description to skip around to whatever role you want to see. The Baron lane is actually the one lane, the only lane that hasn't changed much. I used to put Mordekaiser on the broken tier, and when he was released, he was broken. For the simple reason that people didn't really know how to play against him. Now he's not far away from the broken tier, but like he's S plus tier. So first things first, Darius. The most reliable pick in the top lane, in the Baron lane, sorry. Easily the strongest Baron laner in the game. Like, doesn't even really need much explanation, right? Like, Darius is fine into every matchup. Nothing really beats him. Darius can 1v9 games. Darius is super tanky late game, while also having the highest damage output. So, you know what I mean? Like, and having CC, slowing enemies and everything else. So, he's a complete package. You don't know what to pick? Pick Darius. Next up is Sett. Sett got buffed. Remember? His second ability got buffed. And earlier, some of his other abilities got buffed as well. Sett is, quite frankly, one of the strongest Baron laners. Easily. And I don't see him being picked enough. I do have to say, though, he's not broken tier because in this meta, I really want to explain to you guys how you need to think about picking your picks in this meta. This meta right now, there is two things that you need to consider. Number one is compositions that have long range and strong enchanters. Remember, lethal tempo got changed, so ADCs have longer range right now. And we have Milio being released, which also increases range, and obviously Lulu Yumi, which also further enhance these long range ADCs. So that's the first thing you gotta pay attention to draft against that, right? Think about like which picks are good into that. The second thing you have to look at is countering melee tanks, right? Like countering melee tanks. And Darius does a really good job at playing against both. He can dive the backline and he can beat a frontline, right? So this is what you need to keep in mind when looking at the tier list. And some of the picks that I've put in certain places, you need to take it with a grain of salt because in general, they may not be the strongest, but just in this current meta, I really hope I'm making a lot of sense to you guys right now. In this current meta, the way it works right now, they are very good. So next up is Garen. The thing about Garen is he's always good. Like, you just go Heartsteel on him. He's one of the easiest champions to stack Heartsteel with because his first ability gives him movement speed, so you can very easily stack Heartsteel. And besides that, Garen is Garen, super tanky, one of the strongest ults in the game. Wins most lanes as well, or at least doesn't lose lane. So I mean, nothing else to say about Garen. Ornn, one of the most underrated picks right now. A lot of people do know that he's very strong, but I don't see him enough for how strong he is. Like, I see a lot more of the lower picks compared to Ornn. And even though Ornn is like incredibly powerful, especially if you combine it with a really good jungler or an ADC, you can give them the Ornn passive, right? And then they can just keep farming and keep buying items while they're farming. Next up is our famous Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser, still very strong. Hasn't been changed since release, I believe. He didn't get nerfed or anything like that. He's just been released in a way and he's left that way. His ult is very strong, guys. Like, he's still extremely powerful. He's very difficult to beat. And late game, he's very strong as well. He just overall very very strong champion. What can I say? He has everything. He does tend to struggle a little bit with like mobile champions because when you ult a Fiora, you're never gonna win. When you ult a Lucian, he's just gonna jump over walls. You know, when you ult a Vayne, she's gonna hop around all the time. So that's the thing that he does struggle against. But besides that, he's completely fine. Maokai is very strong, not as strong as before. They nerfed his first ability damage, but definitely still one of the strongest Baron laners in the game. He can hold his ground against every Baron laner. He's extremely tanky. His diving he is one of the strongest dives in the game because he becomes unstoppable during his second ability, and then he can push, like he can dive in, root an enemy, walk behind them and push them forwards and ult them to root them even longer. There's not a lot of champions that have such reliable CC, and while he does this, he won't die because he heals up. His passive heals him up, and then when he's hitting his abilities, when he's getting hit by abilities, he's gonna heal up even more. So like, you want to tank like that. It's an extremely powerful champion, and then let alone the fact that his ultimate is like a major AoE CC ability that just provides so much value during team fights. Next up is Yone. The only reason Yone is in the S+ tier is because Yone hard counters tanks. If you wonder why, he just built Blade of the Rune King. And Lethal Tempo plus Blade of the Rune King plus Yone, you know, basic attack first ability, all of that, he will be a lethal pick into most of these tanky picks that are, you know, often being picked in the Baron lane. Gwen, same story as Yone, but Gwen takes a little bit longer to come online. Like as a Yone, already after one item, you're gonna be very, very strong. But Gwen will need like 2.5, 3 items to get online. So that's slightly the problem with Gwen, but like she gets stronger than Yone, that's the thing. In the late game she is stronger, which is why she's so close to Yone, but not quite as high, because you do want to be strong in the early mid game as well. Next up is Volibear, very very strong with a Heartsteel, even without a Heartsteel. There's actually so many cool Volibear builds you can go for. I'm not sure if I made a video about my tank Volibear build that I got from Baron VG. I should make a video about that. There's like a Volibear build, like a secret broken Volibear build no one plays. You know what? I'll probably make a video on that on HellsDevil Plus channel first. Oh, by the way, if you don't know, I have a second Wild Rift channel. It's called HellsDevil Plus. Link is in the description, or on YouTube. Just look up HellsDevil Plus, P-L-U-S after the HellsDevil, and you can see live gameplay. You can recognize the HellsDevil Plus videos by the iconic yellow thumbnails instead of the orange thumbnails. I know a lot of you guys will love the HellsDevil Plus channel if you haven't checked it out already. And if you have checked it out, make sure you click on the subscribe button on both channels, not only on this channel. So Vladimir doesn't need an explanation. Stupidly broken. Thing is though, he doesn't really bully as much anymore. His damage is not quite as much as it used to be. However, you know, he just doesn't lose lane. It's Vladimir. And he can dive really well, which is not as useful as in the mid lane, because these tanks, you're not going to dive a tank, right? But he can just basically skill easily to the late game in the Baron lane. He just plays it safe all game, gets to like 2 or 3 items, and then in the late game he does Vladimir things. Gragas, you know, full AP Gragas is very good. Tank Gragas is quite good as well, but we're mainly talking about full AP. Full AP Gragas right here. That was a mosquito, by the way, but I didn't kill it. Full AP Gragas is very strong. Not quite as strong as it used to be, because he doesn't really work well into tanks, but definitely still one of the strongest picks in the game. I need to skip this song because it's being annoying. Give me a second. There we go. All right. Next up is Fiora, a tank counter, but like now I want to remind you about what I told you earlier. Fiora sucks into this long range stuff. So think about Lulu, Milio, Yumi, Janna, Karma, all of these longer range type of picks, all of these movement speed, attack speed type of picks, Fiora will struggle against, which is the reason why she's not S+ tier. She's a very, very solid pick, but she will struggle against those enchanter supports. So when you pick Fiora, just be very careful of like enemy enchanter supports that are being picked right now. Next up is Renekton. You know, same story as Fiora. No, actually, the opposite story as Fiora. He's good at diving those squishy champions, but he doesn't really do that much into tanks. But overall, he's just a solid pick. Aatrox, decent at diving backlines, but unfortunately, there's just a lot of movement speed abilities in the game right now. You know, like Yumi, Lulu, Janna, even Sona, Milio. All of these support picks just give so much movement speed that are very viable right now. And then not only that, The tank supports that want to stack Heartsteel can easily stack it on Aatrox as well. That's also what you have to pay attention to this game. Heartsteel was the most broken item in the game right now, and with every pick you need to consider, can the enemy stack their Heartsteel easily on this pick, right? Like that's what you have to think about as well. Riven is quite good in the top lane. She does struggle at facing some of the tanks, but besides that, she's very, very good with the Sundered Sky. Yasuo is like a weaker Yone in the top lane. He does the same thing, but he's just a weaker Yone. Malphite is okay. I mean, AP Malphite will hard counter any ranged matchup in case you're against a ranged matchup, but like, he's not that good. Jax is actually better than Malphite. I don't really know what I thought about that. Jax is definitely better than Malphite. You go for like a mixed build, Trinity Force, Riftmaker, etc. He's okay in the top lane, but it's nothing special. Teemo is surprisingly good somehow. You can play tank Teemo, you can play AP Teemo. Somehow he's just very, very good at bullying the enemy. Sion fell off so hard. Like, he used to be S+ tier, but like, I don't know. He's I threw water all over my sweater. Oh man. Okay, it's fine. Split pushing, he can't really split push much anymore. You know, with Henry doesn't really help him, but you know, the whole breaker removal obviously destroyed Sion. That's what can I say. Shen is really good, but the main reason he's A tier, not S tier, is because this is a solo Q tier list. He's not gonna be good in solo. He's gonna be okay. You can just ult the best player in your team, but it's not a reliable carry. You cannot carry games with Shen. Vayne, I don't even want to talk about Vayne, so I won't. Urgot is fine. Kazarin used to be extremely good in the top lane, but then again, right? Think about it. He doesn't do anything into tanks, so he struggles against half the meta picks. Mundo is good against tanks. He can dive backlines, but at some point he won't be able to tank the damage anymore from like a sustained damage ADC. So also sitting in the A tier. Irelia is absolutely terrible right now. She sucks against tanks, and she sucks against these enchanter picks. Don't pick Irelia. Rengar top is playable. Kill top is actually not good. Maybe in low elo it's good, but if you approach higher elo, if the enemy knows what to do against you, you are gonna get destroyed in your lane every single time. And I missed Camille in the tier list. I was just gonna say something extremely important was missing. I knew she would she's extremely good, S+ tier. Camille was missing. Wow. I missed Jace, but who cares about Jace? He's nothing special. How did I miss Camille though? I knew something was missing. Like, I knew it. Where was I? Kill. Yeah. So Kill got buffed. Kill got reworked. All of that. But he still sucks. She still sucks in the top lane. I played it. I tried it. I played like 30 games in the top lane. And mind you, I'm a really good Kill, but I was barely able to break even in the top lane. I got all of my win rate in another role. You know, there's 4 champions that are in the broken tier right now. Can you guess them? You know, you could probably guess the first one right now. Put it in the comments. What are your guesses? Which 4 champions are going to be in the broken tier? You could get it. Like, you could get it. I gave a lot of hints earlier on in the video as well. You could actually guess this one. Try it. There's 4 champions in the broken tier. Really, really to have a think about it, and you could figure it out. Put it down in the comments. It also supports me with the YouTube algorithm. Also, give this video a like. Supports me with the algorithm too. Let's see if we can reach like 1,000 likes again. I haven't had a video that reached 1,000 likes for such a long time because Wildrift is dying, which of course means my channel is unfortunately not doing too well. But it's fine. It's okay. Moving on. Singed. I heavily underrated Singed in the last tier list. He's actually decent. Nothing amazing, but like he counters both of the things I talked about, right? He counters tanks and he counters these backline carries because he can just dive the support. But the thing is, Singed is just a weak champion. He is simply just not that strong, unfortunately. It takes a lot of time to scale to the late game. He used to be super good because the combination of Rylai's Scepter and Liandry's, you know, they complemented each other. It did double damage. But now that it doesn't do that anymore, on Singed you don't go full AP. And even if you do, it's just not that efficient. You're just not getting that much damage out of the Liandry's anymore. Nasus is very strong, just an overall good pick in the top lane. Olaf, you know, not much recommended. Graves is okay. Pantheon, here it gets really weak, right? Nautilus, Warwick, you just don't want to pick anything that's here. Especially Jarvan. Jarvan top, terrible. Cannon, the worst top laner right now. He had a really high win rate in China, in the mid lane especially, which is why he got nerfed tremendously. And in EU, he was already average, and now he just sucks. So, moving on. There we go. That's that first broken tier pick. It's kill jungle. Why am I not seeing killed in every game? Why? Why? Can someone tell me why? She is beyond broken. I won like every game on Kill Jungle. I swear to God, every game that I played, I won on Kill Jungle. Check out my recent kill videos. I made one on the HellsDevil Plus channel and one on my main channel. Absolutely broken. Like, make sure you watch it, abuse it now before it gets nerfed. It is just beyond broken. Until you reach like challenger rank, it is broken, because in challenger people will kind of know what to do against you, which is invade, right? Like, they have to invade your jungle, because at kill early game before level 5, you're a minion. The moment you reach level 5, you become a champion. So then they are already kind of late. But if you get invaded before level 5, you're screwed as a kill. So also, you know, there's a lot of explaining on how to draft kill. I'm not going to get into that now because I explained all of it during my kill video already. Just make sure you watch my kill video because it's broken. Next up is Viego. Honestly, I kind of disagree with him being that high. I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's wrong to put Viego down because of the nature of this champion. It's just such a strong champion. It is just simply such a strong champion. He does get countered by these enchanters, these long range enchanters, but he's just overall a solid pick. He can be played against everything. Xin Zhao, super powerful. He's so strong right now. With the Sundered Sky, he just one-shot squishes. He doesn't struggle against tanks either. Like, he can just get a Divine Sunder if necessary, maybe even a Blade of the Doom King. He gets an Amaranth Twinger to get super tanky as well during teamfights. And then when he's about to die, he just ults. And he can dive any backline carry. As long as he hits his second ability on anyone, doesn't matter how long their range is, he will outrange them. Dive them, knock them up, and just one-shot them. Camille destroys tanks, destroys backline carries. What else do I need to say? She counters both of the things that are meta right now. AP Jax. AP Jax. No one is playing it. No one is playing it. Why? How many times do I have to remind you guys how broken AP Jax is? Do I really need to make yet another video on it? Do I really need to? I am gonna make another video on it. On HellsDevil Plus. Screw it. I'm gonna do it. I'm actually gonna do it. Next up, we got one of the most surprising picks in the tier list. I've always been an avid Jarvan hater. But recently, with the Sundered Sky being released, and I want to explain to you why this is so broken. The first hit Jarvan hits on an enemy, he does bonus damage based, which is like 8% of the enemy's current HP. The Sundered Sky adds even more damage to that and crits the entire attack, which effectively doubles the passive damage of Jarvan, that initial shot of damage, which allows Jarvan to just absolutely do insane burst damage while being super tanky. Like in the jungle, you go Sundered Sky, you can get like a Divine Sunder or Trinity Force, Amaranth Twingard and whatever, but just the Sundered Sky alone is basically gonna count like having 2 items. Your burst damage will be out of this world, which is the whole reason Jarvan jungle is so powerful right now. Next up is Lilia. Then again, Lilia hard counters tanks, right? Like she hard counters part of the meta. She's decent into backline carries because she's so quick, right? She can get to the backline. And that's it. Like, that's the main reason. She's just a very, very good pick. If you know how to play Lilia well, right now is your time to shine. Vi is a good pick as well, just for the reason that her single target focus is so good with her ultimate, right? It can get countered by stasis, but still, she can just reach the backline whenever she wants to. She'll chase you down. You can't jump over walls and escape her because she's gonna jump over the wall with you, either with her first ability or ultimate. Her second ability gives her movement speed. Her passive gives her movement speed. She shreds your armor as well. You're not escaping Vi. That's what I'm trying to say. And then she can get a stone plate as well and just be an absolute menace. Tank everything and just be annoying. Next up is Darius. All-rounder, yet again. You know, his jungle clear is good. The only thing he tends to struggle at is his ganks and his smiting. He doesn't have a good smite. You know, he can smite with his first ability, but it doesn't outsmite most junglers. And as I said, his ganking is really not that good, unfortunately, which is why he's not like any higher up in the S+ tier. But you can always pick him, that's the thing. Reworked Rengar is surprisingly strong, however, doesn't work into tanks and can get countered by the enchanters. The thing is though, if you're a good Rengar, you're able to snowball enough, you will one-shot enemies through the enchantment. Doesn't matter that a Lulu shields someone, you will one-shot them through it. So that's kind of the story of a Rengar. If you do get to like the super late game, he becomes so strong that even enchanters are not going to save enemies. You can just build a Serpent Fang and the shields are going to be nothing. Master Yi in combination with an enchanter support, easily S+ tier. I would not recommend you to pick Master Yi without communicating with your support in solo queue. Like, you really have to make sure your ally picks a support with Ardent Sensor. So like Lulu, even Karma, even Lux, if they go Ardent Sensor, it makes it worth it. Just make sure they go for it, and then you pick Master Yi, he's an S+ tier pick. Riven is fine in the jungle, you don't really see her much. With the rework she recently got, she actually got a lot stronger, you know, with the reset on her ultimate. But then again, Sundered Sky Riven is really good. That other item as well, which gives a shield when you hit like 2 attacks, I don't know what it's called. But the thing is, Riven does tend to struggle a little bit into tanks, right? Like, she does struggle a little bit into tanks. Because the thing about Riven is she gives Heartsteel stacks very easily. If she dives a Garen, she's gonna do decent damage, but he's likely gonna do at least half her damage back, and he's gonna get a Heartsteel stack. So think about it like that. Like, Riven just is not good in that sense. Lee Sin has fallen off a little bit, but in my recent tier list, I had already put him in the S tier. Don't get me wrong, Lee Sin is okay. He's good, you know. First strike Lee Sin does a lot of damage, but tanks doesn't work into that. Also, Lee Sin gets countered by like Caitlyn, and Milio Caitlyn is a very popular pick right now. You can never play Lee Sin into that and have a fun time. You're gonna lose that 10 out of 10 times. Volibear is quite good, you know, his turret diving is quite good. However, I noticed that in the current meta, there's a lot of champions that can kite him. Kiting meaning running away and attacking him and just slowing him down and whatnot. What can I say? Like, the meta right now just feels like there's so much slowing, there's so much movement speed and everything, that like a champion like Volibear, where you want to run down the enemy, it just feels a little bit weaker. You know, talking about running down the enemy, we have Hecarim, and it's the same story for him. It just doesn't feel like you can run around freely anymore as you could before. Don't get me wrong, very strong, right? S tier, but it just feels like you can't run around freely as much anymore. So that's why Graves has gone up in the tier list right now. He's actually very close to the big boys, and is actually a big boy himself. It's really weird to say because of his orientation and my mustache. Should I edit this video? I'm gonna keep it in. Screw it. So Graves is very good because he can work against tanks. You just build a Black Cleaver and he will not necessarily take down a tank, but really hurt tanks. But the main purpose of Graves is diving the backline, right? And Graves absolutely can dive backlines, and Graves can deal with enchanters as well. He just attacks the enchanter, right? Like, he just attacks the enchanter and he can dash around left and right, and he gets super tanky. He gets so much armor when he dives because of his third ability. So that's what makes Graves a completely viable pick right now. So many people think Graves is a troll pick, but that's not true. He's completely viable. He's even better than Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix honestly sucks right now because Kha'Zix doesn't work against tanks and doesn't work against enchanters. Kha'Zix wants to play against individual champions that are not that tanky. But with Heartsteel right now, with all of these Amarant Twin Guards, with all of these enchanter supports, you're just not gonna kill anyone when you pick Kha'Zix. Don't get me wrong, viable, but just not that strong. Diana, similar story to Kha'Zix. Evelynn, similar story as well. And the thing with Evelynn is as well, it seems like people are picking Control Ward a lot more often now. Could be because a lot of invisible champions are good right now, but it just feels like you can't play Evelynn anymore. Also, there's map hacking in Wild Rift right now, so there is a possibility you have a map hacker in your game, and a map hacker is like the biggest nightmare for Evelynn, because of course the entire playstyle of Evelynn revolves around her being invisible. So if the enemies can see you because they're map hacking, you know, it of course always gives you a disadvantage, but it gives you the biggest disadvantage when you play Evelynn. Next up is Gragas jungle. Very good jungle clear, good ganking. but he struggles against tanks. So that makes him slightly weak, and I don't know, he just doesn't hit as hard as he used to. Like the addition of Heartsteel just changed everything so much. It's crazy. Like, you know, you're getting these champions that are getting like 5, 6, 7k HP, and you as an AP Gragas are just not even tickling them. You're not even tickling them. You're wasting your mana. And then again, he's a good assassin, don't get me wrong, but he relies heavily on flash. Like, he really needs his flash to be able to dive the backline, and that is why I've put him like on the lower end of the S tier. Because you're not always going to have your flash to dive the enemy backline, right? You're not going to be able to do that. Now, someone that doesn't rely on flash is Talon. Talon doesn't do anything against tanks either. He can dive backlines quite well, and he counters enchanters because he builds a Serpent Fang. But he just doesn't hit as hard as he used to. His jungle clear is also not as fast as before. Like before, when he got released and he got buffed, he had the fastest jungle clear in the game. So you could clear jungle super fast, get a gank, clear jungle again super fast, and just keep it up like that, and you would always get at least 1,000 gold per minute. Now you're not able to get that anymore. You're gonna be lingering around 900 gold per minute, and not that 1,000 gold, unfortunately, anymore. Gwen jungle, one of the slowest jungle clears in the game, but one of the strongest champions in the game. Absolutely hard counters the tanks, struggles against the backlines, but if you are against a very tanky enemy, pick Gwen and she's gonna be completely broken in your game. Let me just adjust my chair real quick. Next up is Fizz jungle. Fizz jungle is okay. I really thought he would be very, very weak in the current meta because it doesn't make sense on paper. But in how do you say it? He doesn't make sense on paper, but in reality, he's actually quite good. Like, late game Fizz is still a late game Fizz and can still definitely hard carry games. Shyvana jungle, one of the most underrated junglers in the game. You just need to farm, take objectives and just keep farming. She will take down tanks because she does a percentage true damage when she reaches 300 stacks. Attacking backlines, she can do it as well because she's very quick because of her second ability. When you upgrade the second ability, she becomes very, very quick. Mordekaiser jungle is okay. Not too much to say about it. It's just fine. Like, his jungle clear is meh. His ganking is terrible, by the way. But it's Mordekaiser, so he's fine. Kayn jungle is a lot stronger than this, by the way. He's definitely sitting here, right behind Graves. And I'm talking red Kayn, I'm not talking blue Kayn. Red Kayn in the current meta is so ridiculously strong, actually. He may even be like low-key, he's sitting on bottom S plus T because he's probably the hardest counter to tanks. And I'm not saying tanks with armor, I'm saying tanks with HP, which is the main form of tanks right now, right? Like, everyone is building Heartsteel. He counters that the hardest from everyone because all of his abilities do damage based on the enemy's max health. And he heals based on the damage he does. So, yeah. He's actually definitely bottom S plus T. No idea what I did placing him down here. No idea. Blue Kayn sucks, by the way. If we're talking blue Kayn, he would probably be over here. But red Kayn is definitely sitting on the S plus tier. Yone jungle is fine. Nothing too interesting. AP Nautilus jungle, hard counters, backlines, struggles against tanks. Olaf is underrated because Olaf will absolutely run down enemies that don't have reliable damage. So if the enemies don't have a Kai'Sa or a Tristana or something, if they have a Jhin, for example, normally Jhin counters Olaf because he can be quicker than him. But in the current meta with the Amaron Twin Guard available and whatnot, he doesn't. So like any ADC that just doesn't do that much damage, and if you have all of these immobile tanks, Olaf will run them the hell down. Tristana jungle works, give it a try, it's really, really good. Aatrox doesn't really work well in jungle. Anyone interesting worth talking about? Fiddlesticks is better than you think, but just overall nothing too special. Zed should be here. No idea why I put him here. Actually, now I do remember. I did put him here and then I put him back down because he struggles so much against tanks and also against these enchanters. Even if you get a Serpent Fang, Zed just can't really assassinate enemies that have strong enchanting supports. And then these other ones are just not really worth talking about. Don't pick Nilah jungle. Twitch, don't even think about it. Like, I tried Twitch, absolute giga terrible. Next up is mid lane, and there is no broken tier pick here. Akali is close to broken tier, but not quite as close as she used to be. She's pretty much the strongest mid laner in the game right now. She can carry games, struggles a little bit into tanks. However, you can build a Rift Maker, she'll be fine, even against tankier opponents. Yeah, Akali is just overall very, very strong. She can definitely just assassinate anyone that's in the backline. Now, Vladimir mid lane is a lot stronger than in the top lane, because in the mid lane, it's sort of the same story where he'll be fine, because it's Vladimir. But in the mid lane, he'll actually hurt the enemies, because the enemies are not a tank. They're not Garen or Darius or whatever. He'll actually hurt the enemies, because they're not going to build magic resist. Unless it's Yasuo, who can go tank and Wit's End and whatever. But they're just not going to build any magic resist like in the top lane. He will really hurt in the mid lane, and he's always a good pick. Yasuo is also a good pick in the mid lane, because you can still play tank Yasuo. You just go magic resist boots or armor boots, whatever your enemy mid laner is, whatever damage your enemy mid laner does. And you're just never gonna die. You're literally never gonna die, because boots are still way too broken. Even though the boots have been nerfed, just the sheer amount of resistances that these boots provide is too much. Syndra got nerfed as well, but no. Syndra got buffed. Syndra got buffed. Oh my god, Syndra got buffed. She's better than Yasuo. I wouldn't rate her above Vladimir though. Her passive, every time she levels up, she now gets more stacks. She gets 4 stacks instead of 2, I believe. Yes. So she's gonna reach her stacks more easily now. Definitely makes her a lot stronger. And I believe some of her abilities got buffed as well. At least, what can I say? She feels stronger now. She definitely feels a lot stronger than before. Zoe, and I know a lot of you guys are gonna say, Zoe doesn't do anything into tanks, blah blah blah. How is she S+ rating? The sheer amount of damage Zoe does to the backline completely compensates for her lack of damage, lack of usefulness against a tank. And that's all I have to say. She just does so much damage to the backline that it doesn't really matter how much she does to the front line. She'll just one-shot your backline. Twisted Fate has gone down, actually. He used to be a little bit higher up in my tier list. And that's because, we don't have these random assassins running around anymore, right? These random Lee Sins, random Talons, random Evelyns, random Akalis, well, Akali we will have, but you know what I'm talking about. We don't have these random squishy champions running around much anymore, right? So, which is what Twisted Fate would love to play against. And we don't have many bruisers anymore. And to explain to you why bruisers are important is, you want to pick Twisted Fate if you have a bruiser in your team. If you have a Darius, you have a Fiora, you have a Camille, because they can follow up the CC really, really well. There's not much of it. We have tanks, we have backline carries, so it doesn't really complement what Twisted Fate's kit offers. This is definitely the most high-level tier list I've ever given. I'm giving very high-level explanations, and I hope you guys understand the explanations, because I always kind of explain things on a surface level, but this time I want to get a little bit deeper into it. I want to change things up a little bit, right? Next up is Khazad. Khazad, barely making it to the S+ tier, honestly. He honestly, he's not even S+ tier if you really think about it. Like, what does he do against a tank? Nothing, right? Nothing. He can absolutely destroy the squishies, but he doesn't do it as well as Zoe does. Not as safely, at least, because he has to literally put himself in the backline to be able to do damage. So, of course, that puts him into a vulnerable position compared to Zoe, who can just use her ultimate and go right back out. Zed, he's okay, but again, same story. He just doesn't hit as hard as he used to be able to hit. Now I want to talk about a pick that is extremely underrated, which is Veigar. Veigar works against both of the meta things. And to explain to you how he works into tanks, he can stack on them. During a teamfight, he can stack on them. So if there's a Garen or a Sion or whatever running you down, you simply just auto-aim your abilities on that person, put down your cage onto them, and you're going to get 30 stacks on during a single teamfight. And at some point, you're going to have so many stacks that, of course, you're going to one-shot the squishies, but you're actually also going to be able to take down the tanks because of the sheer amount of raw damage Veigar gets if you're able to stack up properly. I think I'm gonna make a Veigar video on my main channel. I don't know. I think I will. I think I actually will, because of how interesting of a pick it is. Fizz mid lane, it's okay, it's fine, nothing too special. It's just fine. I mean, it's like honestly kind of weaker than most of these picks. Ziggs mid lane is starting to shine again because he works very well into the backline carries and decent and actually quite well into the supports as well. You just build a Leandris and you constantly throw your bombs on the enemies. We're not seeing that many assassins being picked right now. We're not seeing that many mobile berserkers being picked, bruisers, sorry, being picked, which is what Ziggs generally tends to struggle against. So you can just pick him and just keep throwing your bombs, like rain havoc on top of the enemies. Yone mid lane, not as good as top lane, but still very, very nice, very solid. Nothing much to say about it. It's just a solid pick. Great all-inning potential, just overall solid. Now, Lissandra went down from the S plus tier to the S tier because of the nerfs she has received. She actually works quite well into the current meta, what can I say? She can dive backlines really, really efficiently, but she just doesn't do that explosive damage anymore that she used to do. Brand hard counters the tanks, right? Like if you're against a very tanky opponent, just pick Brand mid and take the free win. But I've noticed there's a lot of picks like Jarvan, Xin Shao, all of these, there's more, but I just can't think about them right now. All of these tanky picks that can easily dive him and kill him regardless of him being anti-tank. So that's why he's not S plus tier. Ahri, she works quite well because she can punish tanks. Even though she doesn't counter tanks, she can punish them. To explain to you why, let's say a tank dives your team. You as an Ahri can charm that tank and force them to tank all of the damage your team does for like 1.5 to 2 seconds. And even though the enemy may be, very tanky, a lot of resistances, them having to tank all of your team's damage for 2 seconds is still a lot, right? That's still a lot to take in. And also, Ahri does true damage with her first ability when it comes back, which also counters the high resistance Amarant Twingard types of champions. Of course, Ahri works quite well into diving backlines too. Orianna, she's fine. She's just a weaker Ziggs, honestly. Now, Katarina is an interesting case because she's terrible right now. It's hilarious. Terrible for what she used to be, right? She's still playable, don't get me wrong. But compared to the old Katarina, she's terrible. She doesn't do anything against tanks. And she can't assassinate as well anymore because there's so many enchanters. You really need to be good with Katarina to be able to play her. Build Crown of the Shattered Queen, use a QSS, and hit those big ultimates. Pyke mid lane, quite good, but again, requires quite a skilled player to make it work. You need to be really, really good at this champion, but it works. Seraphine works into tanks, but I don't like Seraphine as a carry. It's just not that good. Lux is definitely better than this. I don't know why I put her there. Actually, Lux is a lot better than this. What am I smoking, man? Like, come on, Lux is a lot better. She can stop tanks. Her second ability allows her to shield her teammates and whatnot. She does so much damage. If she hits a backline carry, she'll just one-shot them. Overall, just a solid pick in the current meta. Zyra is fine. Akshan is fine. Anyone interesting to talk about? Kill mid lane is not good because even though you can farm decently in the mid lane, you're going to get ganked more than in the top lane. And you're going to get bullied more. Sorry. Because in the top lane, at least you're likely against a melee champion. In the mid lane, you're against a ranged champion, so you're going to get bullied. And you're going to get ganked more. And you have no wave clear, so the enemy mid laner will clear the wave, rotate to top or bot lane or jungle, and help their team out, while you're just being a dumbass kill trying to get to the late game. That's not even going to be existent, because your team will have lost because of the enemy mid laner rotating around all the time. Aurelion Sol theoretically should be very, very good right now because of him countering tanks, but in reality he's actually terrible because his stats are just really weak. Just a really weak champion. He just doesn't skill hard into the late game as he used to. Then again, all of these other picks, Vex mid lane, Annie, just don't even think about it. Corki is terrible. I played him as well. Horrible picks. Next up is the ADC role, and here we got our next broken pick. And if you can count well, the last 2 broken picks are in the support role. You'll see. Kai'Sa, I noticed that Kai'Sa is the only ADC I can reliably, like truly reliably carry on without a good support as well. Even if I'm like 0-6 early game, if I'm able to get 3 items, 4 items, I can carry the game on Kai'Sa. No other ADC can reliably carry games like that without having like a good enchanter. Kai'Sa, on her own, she'll just absolutely run down the enemies with that on-hit build. I should probably make a Kai'Sa video for my main channel. You know what? I likely will. I think I haven't made a Kai'Sa video for a really long time. I definitely made Kai'Sa videos on the HellsDevil Plus channel, by the way, in case you want to watch them already. Next up is Tristana. Tristana is just a tad bit weaker than Kai'Sa. She can do the same thing, but on a different level. Kai'Sa is very good against melee champions that are diving her, and she can dive backlines as well. Tristana remains at a safe distance and just throws rockets on the enemies and just does so much damage. It's a different playstyle, but both are very, very powerful. Man, this music is getting a little bit annoying. Let me try to find something else. I'm listening to jazz, by the way. Let's put on Eminem while making this tier list. So next up is Varus. Varus has fallen off maybe a little bit, and the reason being is because, you know, he's good into front lines, but he struggles a little bit against backline carries, if that makes sense. You know, if the enemies have long-range champions like a Caitlyn or something, Varus will get bullied because you're not playing lethality Varus anymore, right? You're playing on-hit Varus mainly. That's the best build right now, the attack speed type of Varus build. So he's just not as good anymore right now, but still S+ tier. Ezreal is okay, but I noticed there's like, he doesn't really work that well with some of the enchanters like Milio and Lulu, because they provide attack speed, which is not what Ezreal wants. And there's one more support as well that Ezreal doesn't really work that well with, I would say. You'll see. Next up is Samira. Samira, very, very good. Not with enchanters, but with engaging supports. Like if you're a good Samira and you get like a good engaging support pick, she's gonna be very, very nice. Xayah hard counters the tanks, you know, the divers and whatever. And she just does so much damage. She can also bully backline carries quite decently. Her range is just good enough for that. Zeri, very, very solid pick. Does need to get like to the mid game, but she's just very strong. She counters enchanters that give shielding, of course, because she steals the shield. And she can definitely take down front lines as well. Like, she definitely can. The problem is, though, if you fall behind on a Zeri, you're going to struggle like crazy. It's really, really difficult to sort of make a recoup when you fall behind. Caitlyn is really powerful right now with that long range, especially in combination with the lethal tempo, and especially with the deadly combination of having a Milio support, guys. Oh my god. Milio Caitlyn is like the most ridiculous thing. You're gonna win every single game with that. I swear to god, you're actually gonna win every single game with that. Jhin is also very solid. Can easily take down backlines, and actually does quite decently into tanks as well. You just need to be ahead of them, basically. If there is a tank that's very ahead of you and is spamming armor, you are never killing them, however, which is why he's not in the S+ tier anymore. Kalista, I don't really like Kalista personally. She is strong enough to be a force to be reckoned with, but I don't really like her much. Miss Fortune, surprisingly in the S tier, even though it's the bottom S tier, her new kit is actually surprisingly strong. Like, I didn't think it would be good, but her sustained damage is a lot better now against a single target carry. Even if a tank is diving her, she can actually do good punishment on that tank because of her new passive now. And her ultimate, of course, is still her old ultimate, does a lot of damage. Jinx is fine, you know, needs a good enchanter, otherwise it's not very powerful. Draven is very risky in solo queue. In duo queue, I would rate him as plus tier, but in solo queue, he's very, very risky. You're heavily reliant on having a good support. Vayne is definitely not as strong as she used to be anymore, even with a good enchanter. She's just not what she used to be anymore. You would think that Vayne would be very good because, you know, she counters tanks, high HP tanks, but honestly, she really isn't that good anymore. She actually mainly counters tanks with a lot of armor, so like a Rammus. She doesn't necessarily counter the high HP tanks as much as you would think. She mainly counters the armor tanks. Senna ADC is fine. Ashe, you know, there's alternatives, don't pick it. Sivir is fine, but Sivir actually got nerfed, and Yuma's Ghostblade got nerfed, which was part of my build, so she's not that good anymore. Lucian is surprisingly weak. Not that weak though. He's like somewhere here. He's definitely not where he used to be. He used to be in a broken tier, which is hilarious. Corki, don't play it. Twitch, don't play it. Nyla, don't play it. And just don't play those. Anything below the C tier, don't play it in the ADC world. Are you ready for the last two broken picks? That's right. I know a lot of you guys are already clicking on the dislike button. You're already putting your replies down, telling me this makes no sense. Jarvan is a troll pick. Just, Lulu is a lot better. Hold your hands. Don't type anything. Don't click anything. Because first I'm going to talk about Yuumi. Yuumi is a stupid cat, stupid broken, blah, blah, blah. She got nerfed. I thought it would be enough, but it's not enough. Yuumi is broken. Okay, enough Yuumi talk. Now let's talk about the real stuff. Jarvan, support. Let's talk about this. This is obviously broken support's pick, right? Like this is broken support's doing. I tried it. I played like 10 games, 15 games of it. I carried nearly every game, and every game that I lost, almost every game that I lost, I got my elo back. So to explain to you why Jarvan support is so good, for multiple reasons. Number one, he's very tanky. Number two, you can stack Heartsteel very easily. Number three, he has such a good engage with his third ability. Number four, he has very good disengage with his third ability as well. Number five, his cooldowns are extremely low with the build that you need to go for. And with Ingenious Hunter, it's even crazier. So essentially, you go in, you do all of your damage, you use Stoneplate, you use your ultimate. Before you die, you can just disengage. Also, your second ability slows the enemies. It slows everyone, and it's a very substantial slow. So you can catch enemies with it, and you can easily tank a lot of damage. Your third ability will provide 45% attack speed to your entire team permanently, because you can put down another one when one runs out. And the range is huge. And if all of that wasn't enough, most games you lose, you're going to get A or S rating, because if you're playing Jarvan support, you genuinely get a lot more stats than jungle Jarvan. So compared to your average Jarvan player, it's very easy to get like the better than 80% or 90% Jarvan player. So you're going to get that A or S rating, and you're not going to lose any rank, or you're only going to lose half the rank. So you're already being a very good support for your team. You're already going to win most games. And then the games you don't win, like half of them, you're just not going to lose any elo anyways. So do you see how that makes him a completely broken pick after the change that Riot did to the system, where if you get A or S rating, that you don't lose any elo? That's what makes him broken tier. There it is. Now I hope you understand. Do you guys want me to make a video on that? I don't know. Maybe I will. I'm just having fun with it right now. I played against broken support actually once, and I saw it firsthand. I think I'll release that video on my channel as well. Lulu, she actually doesn't feel like broken tier anymore. She feels S+ tier. Lulu and Yuumi got nerfed recently. The Lulu nerf hit her pretty good. Still very strong, don't get me wrong, but there is actually counterplay to Lulu right now. Next up is Milio, the new support, guys. Very, very strong. Wouldn't say he's like any broken or anything, but he's so annoying. He can kite enemies really well. He's super quick. He can push you away if you're on his ass. And of course, if you stun him and his allies, he cleanses it and he gives them massive tenacity for like 3 seconds. So it's just a very annoying support to play against. Very, very annoying. But the thing is, he's kind of reliant on having a good ADC to provide them long range. Like a Caitlyn. Oh my god, Caitlyn Milio was so silly, I swear to god. Soraka, I mean, she's fine, she's okay. Nothing much to say about her, it's Soraka. Karma is very strong as well, because she does so much damage. Like if you go for the full damage build, with the Luden's Echo and all of that, she is ridiculously powerful. Swain, very strong as well, against those tankier opponents. The only thing is though, Swain is definitely not broken tier anymore because of the addition of Milio. Swain really struggles against these long range type of compositions, and the change to Lethal Tempo also counters Swain because it gives more range to ADCs, so it makes it easier for them to kite you away. So that's why Swain is not as hot of a pick anymore. Now Morgana is definitely a hot pick, and no one plays Morgana support, and I don't understand why. Every time I pick it, every single time I just destroy the enemies. It's ridiculous how strong it is. You just go Rylai Scepter, you get anti-heal, and then you build your other items, and you're just gonna be such a menace to deal with. The slowing alone is more than enough of a reason that just to pick Morgana support. Hard counters tanks, hard counters backlines, because you can just put the pull down on the backline and they're all gonna get slowed. Next up is Nami. Overall solid support, does a lot of damage while providing a lot of support. Her bubble is really strong against these tanks that are trying to engage. You can just knock them up, waste a lot of time. She's decent. She's decent into backlines, but not the best, because it's a little bit difficult to hit your ultimate on an enemy backline that's very quick, with the Melio and whatnot. So that's why she's just kind of chilling at the bottom as plus tier. Braum is okay, does well against tanks, does decently well against backline carries because of his shielding and his ultimate that slows everyone and knocks people up. Just overall a solid pick, what can I say? Janna has fallen off a little bit. She really doesn't like playing against these long range champions because she just gets outranged. She simply gets outranged. And pushing away a tank doesn't really do much. Her ultimate is mainly good to push away assassins, and no one really plays assassins right now, so Janna is falling a little bit short right now compared to the other supports. Lux is also nothing too special in my eyes. Lux support is just, you go full AP Lux, because Lux support with Harmonic Echo and everything is just terrible. You don't want to play that. And full AP Lux is like okay, as I said, but then again, she will struggle against most of these other supports. Leona support as well, it just doesn't feel that strong anymore. If you dive an enemy, they have a strong enchanter. It just doesn't feel like you can get kills reliably anymore. Alistar is, also okay, but same story as Leona. It just doesn't feel as reliable as it used to be anymore. Sona is fine, you're very tanky, but like, she just doesn't provide as many stats as she used to. Her healing is not broken anymore. Her shielding is weaker than before. She cannot exhaust enemies anymore. She's just overall, an okay pick, but nothing special. Senna is okay as well. Pyke is fine, Maokai support is also okay. Thresh has definitely fallen off a lot, by the way, because in case you're wondering, Thresh gets absolutely giga countered by these long range ADCs. And with the addition of with the change to lethal tempo, it also counters Thresh. Thresh just cannot do anything against long range stuff, so that's why mainly Thresh went down. And also Thresh sucks against tanks, so it's just unfortunately not a very good pick anymore. Nautilus support is okay. Nasus support, Loki is actually better than Thresh. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Thresh is still okay. Thresh is still good. But Nasus support is low-key good. You should give it a try. Watch some of my Nasus support videos and give it a try. It's especially good with Senna, by the way. Next up is Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is still very good, but then again, unfortunately doesn't work well against tanks. He does well into these backline carries, but I don't know. He doesn't hit as he used to be able to. And then next up, just don't really pick the other ones. Brand, good against tanks, I guess, but meh. Anything else? Rakan is not that bad. He's probably somewhere here, but I just really don't like playing Rakan. So that's gonna be it for the tier list. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a like. Check out the HellsDevil Plus channel, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next Wild Rift video.